And now, for the first time on Positives, viewer requests!
Ever since I started Positives, I asked everybody to send in requests for games that they think I should be covering. And today, we're going to be taking a look at a request that a lot of people sent in. But one person asked me first. Mark Carr from Indie Game Searchlight. Sonic 2006. Thanks, Mark. Let's find the positives. Sonic the Hedgehog was a game released in 2006 on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, and this here is one heck of a bad game. I've played a lot of bad ones on the show so far, but I think this one pretty much might be the worst. The game is riddled with problems. It's got terrible controls, a lackluster story, kind of weird glitches that happen all over the place, and honestly, with those three things combined, there's really not much going for the game because a lot of the stuff in the game just doesn't look like any time or effort went into it, when that really isn't true, but it still feels that way. Apparently, during the development of this game, the developers kind of split up into two groups and made two separate games. This one and Sonic and the Secret Rings that was released for the Wii. And the creator of Sonic the Hedgehog, I mean the original guy that designed those games, Yoji Naka, left during the development of the game, leaving the team in a state of disarray that I think just kind of destroyed the game's ability to ever be really made well. It's rumored that the developers of this game avoided any bug testing or playtesting reports and pretty much just let the game launch without fixing anything. And if you've played the game, well, I have to think that that was true. This is a bug-riddled mess. It's a struggle to play and it was a challenge for us to do it on the show. But because I'm so confident that there has to be 4 good things about this game, we struggled through, and we did everything we possibly could do to find the best of the best. So to start off, the visuals in this game are kind of well done in parts. Sonic the Hedgehog and Tails and a bunch of other characters in the game have been modeled well. But not Eggman. Let me make that absolutely clear. Dr. Robotnik looks psychotic in this game. I mean, that's a good thing because he's the villain, but he just looks like a weird fat man with a tiny little head. And that really creeps me out. Every other character in the game that's human doesn't look like he does, but because the developers were trying to make Eggman look like his prior self from other games, he looks like a monster of epic proportions. So that's weird. But other than that, a lot of the visuals look really good. I mean, take a look at these cinematics. This is just the opening cinematic from the game, and it looks like something you'd see out of the recent Final Fantasy games. It's really well done and it shows promise, which is completely eroded after you actually get into the game, but that promise was there initially, and it looks pretty neat. Not every cinematic is well made, and the in-engine cinematics that you see within the game while you're playing, a lot of those ones are really bad as well. But there's a couple that really stand out, and those visuals kind of make it okay sometimes. So, the first positive is that this game has some pretty cool visuals. I was having a terrible time playing this game until at one point I came across a musician playing an accordion in one of the streets. The volume on the soundtrack that was previously playing lowered, and suddenly I was listening to this really good composition done with an accordion. And it kind of got me thinking, a lot of the music in this game was good. It's kind of weird because you would expect it to be just as bad as a lot of the other features of this game, but it's not. There's a lot of really well produced and really well composed music in this game that just stands out, which is good because you needed something to really get you through some of these levels. Give me a sec. I'm gonna play some images of like nice looking things, and I'm gonna play the soundtrack over top. Here we go. See, the music in this game is actually pretty good. And although some sequences fit Sonic the Hedgehog really well, the song I just played, that the accordion player was playing, doesn't really fit Sonic the Hedgehog that well. But it's still pretty good music. So, the second positive is that this game has some really well composed music. Sonic the Hedgehog has a huge cast of characters, and while most games would feature these characters in the background somewhere, this one pretty much allows you to play as all of the characters at some point or another, which is pretty neat. Throughout the game, you get to play as Sonic the Hedgehog, Tails, Knuckles, Shadow the Hedgehog, Rogue, and two new characters, Silver the Hedgehog and Blaze. Each character offers a different gameplay style, which I think was really needed because a lot of the game is just really bad. Arguably, not all these characters play really well, but they do change up the style that you play the game in, which is nice because Sonic's parts can have a lot of problems. So at least there's points in the game where the gameplay just alters a little bit, giving you a little bit of breathing room. So having this little fresh spin once in a while for different gameplay modes at least makes you stay interested in the game. If they didn't have that, you would have been bored to tears just playing as Sonic all the time in a really broken game mode. So the third positive is that this game has a whole bunch of playable characters. I've been a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog games my entire life, and when it came to this game, I have to say, this is the lowest point the franchise has ever seen. This game gets Sonic the Hedgehog completely wrong. The gameplay's bad, the characters are off, the story's terrible, and really, there's not a lot here to find enjoyable. And while it would be easy to just pick any random thing in the game and say that's good, I'm gonna do something a little bit different for this specific positive. I'm glad that this game exists because it became the catalyst for the development of future, better Sonic the Hedgehog games. During the game's development, Yuji Naka, the person that was responsible for a lot of the earlier Sonic the Hedgehog games, left the company, being one of the last people to leave the company that was actually involved with the original Sonic the Hedgehog. Since then, Sonic Team struggled to figure out exactly what they had to do to make a good Sonic game. Directly after this game was released, Sonic Team tried a bunch of different ideas. Sonic Unleashed, which was a terrible game, and then Sonic and the Black Knight, which was another terrible game. But then, they finally started to figure out something that worked. They released Sonic Colors, which a lot of people liked. Then they released Sonic Generations, which was one of my favorite Sonic games to come out in the past couple of years. And then most recently, they released Sonic Lost World. These games prove that Sonic the Hedgehog can exist in today's modern gaming climate, and I'm thankful for Sonic the Hedgehog coming out because it was the catalyst that spurred the creation of these different concepts in games. Think about how bad this game is. If you were Sonic Team, would you want to replicate it? Well, no, you wouldn't, and neither do they. So this game instilled a fear in them to never replicate this kind of terrible gameplay again. And because of that, we got some of the best Sonic games we've gotten in years. So the fourth positive, it scared Sonic Team straight. Sonic the Hedgehog is a terrible game. It's got glitches, it's got bugs, and it's really not worth playing. I really don't recommend it. But it isn't the worst platform game I've ever played, because next week, we're going to be taking a look at that one.